Okay, it's Jedi here, and this is my new interview. Later on in the interview, I'll be talking about dangerous incidents that have occurred since I became famous in around 2009 and 2008 from YouTube. So I became famous from YouTube. But first, I'm going to have a discussion about something a bit different. Now, in February last year, just before I was on TV, I injured my right knee at the Riverside Skate Park in Melbourne, Victoria, the biggest skate park, main skate park in Melbourne, the city of Melbourne, Riverside Skate Park. I injured my knee doing practice airs over the bowl hip to get ready for jumping the fence, to air the fence. I landed badly and injured my knee. I was in pain quite severely for a few days and for about a month. Well, not for a month, but for a few days. And a few months later I saw the doctor and he told me that I had a torn knee meniscus. It wasn't a serious injury like a minor knee ligament, not a serious injury like ACL or medial cruciate. And I had to have some minor surgery and I would still have 100% use of my knee and could still continue my career to the fullest extent once my injury had been operated on. Now, I was reluctant to skateboard for several months after I hurt my knee and after I went on TV, but I did eventually go to the Newport skate park, and that day I cut sick and tested myself out and cut sick. Now, I realised I couldn't do massive airs or skate box, grind box or grind ledge or flat bar or whatever, etc. But I realised after that day at Newport that I could still do lip slides. I could still do lip slides on quarter pipes and ramps. Still do lip slides and nose bump slides and overcooked lip slides, Smith grind revert, and such tricks as that. Now I thought, right, now that I can still do lip slides and nose blunt slides, etc. on quarters, I'm gonna get my two lightsabers out. I'm gonna skate mad, still with a knee injury, and everyone will call me the best, even though I can't air big and I can't skate grind box, ledge, or flat bar, etc. I want to get the two lightsabers out, not just skate with one lightsaber, get the two lightsabers out and cut sick, go on the attack and skate mad, and everyone will still call me the best. Basically unbeatable, even though I can't do most tricks in my retinue, my performance capability. And I did that, and for the last 10 to 12 months, that's been my I've made progress doing that, and that's been my plan, and it's worked. Now, on to the next thing, which is the dangerous incidents that have occurred since I've been famous on YouTube. The first one is the large sized man fight. The fight against a large sized man. Now, in 2008, just before I was famous on YouTube, became famous on YouTube, I was graffitiing in Balnarring Beach, the beachside suburb of Balnarring Beach. It's the main beachside suburb in my mother's former political seat, former parliamentarian senate seat, whatever you want to call it. And I was graffitiing on the. This is a few months after I purchased my first purple lightsaber, and it was a few months after that, and I was graffitiing on the small bus shelter directly adjacent to that small Balnarring shopping centre. Now, I spray painted the bus shelter, and I did quite a cool tag piece, not a piece, but a tag piece, and it looked cool. But then I turned around just after finishing it, and I had my lightsaber in one hand and my skateboard in the other, and I just put my spray can back in my pocket, and I saw a large sized man coming over to me, and he yelled out straight away, pardon me, he yelled out straight away, "What are you doing? We've caught you now. The police are on their way. Caught you now, haven't we?" And I said, I didn't even say anything to him, I just walked off. And then he chased after me, grabbed my skateboard out of my hand and just wrenched it out of my hand, tore it out of my hand and just walked off to the bus, to the Balnarring shopping centre just across the road. I followed him over there and started wrestling him. At the front of the shop I started wrestling him and grabbed my skateboard back and reaped it out of his hand. First I put my lightsaber on the ground, then I started wrestling him and reaped the lightsaber out of the skateboard out of his hand. And I think he's a big sort of guy, and I'm just a normal sized person. I'm not tall and big, I'm not short and small. I'm just normal sized, and I think he was a bit surprised that someone my size was wrestling someone as big as him and like overpowering him. And I ripped the skateboard out of his hand, and I just grabbed the skateboard, picked up my lightsaber, and just walked off and skated off. And I went to, before the police came, I went to my friend's house in Balnarring, and they told me, if I told them the story, and they said, look, if you see him again and he tries to fight, we'll help, which was reassuring and also confidence boosted. I had friends that had backed me up in such a situation. But anyway, the police didn't come, and I didn't get any problems with the police, and which was a good thing, because at the time, not so much now in 2014, but back then in 2008, there was a big thing in the media about graffiti being heavily fined, heavily picked on. That was like scrutinised. Graffiti was at the time, and there were heavy fines for it, and I would have had a court case and a heavy fine. So that was lucky and fortunate. Now the second one was the Summers Beach fight. Now the Summers Beach fight occurred in early 2009, just before, a couple of months before I became famous. And I was at Summers is the next beachside suburb next to Balnarring Beach, in my mother's former political seat. And it's a smaller beachside suburb than Balnarring, and that's where I was at. After dark, I went to a camp, a high school, primary school, college, university camp, like school camp for students. And that's where I related in my Facebook that I was stalked by a ghost. But it's a different story that happened in 2011, and this is in 2009. And I was skating around there, doing tricks and stuff, and I got noticed, and because there's a few good skate spots, and I got noticed, and the staff told me to leave, and I didn't leave, so they called the police, so I left off, and the police chased me down to the beach when they arrived, and I led the police on a wild goose chase. I had my lightsaber, and I was 100 feet away from the police down the beach, and they had their torches out, and I lit up my lightsaber, and then I turned it off, and they started chasing, and they couldn't find me because my lightsaber got turned off in the dark. I went into the bushes, and they peeled off, and I came out on the beach about 10 minutes later when they were gone. And then I just started walking around the beach, checking the place out. And I came across a group of students, part of the university college students who were staying there at the camp. And I walked up to them and said, what do you think of my lightsaber? And they said, I turned it on, and they said, what do you think of my lightsaber? And they said, this is a private party, man. Please leave us alone. There was a few guys and a few girls. I said, no problems, man. Yeah, no problems, man. I'll leave you guys alone. I'm not going to intrude on your party. So I walked off, and I walked about 30 feet, maybe 20 metres, before I just knew straight away. I looked behind, and there was 3 of them or 4 of them, of the guys from that group that had the private party on the beach. They were stalking. They were casing me. They were coming after me, and they wanted to attack me and get my lightsaber out of me and probably steal it off me and stuff. And so I ran for about 10 meters, and then they were just about to get me, and I dropped my lightsaber, turned, and in one movement grabbed the first 2 of them that were behind me, directly behind me, grabbed them all in one movement, turned, dropped my lightsaber, then turned, grabbed both of them, one with each hand, one of the shirt front by the shirt front, grabbed them by the front of the neck, by each hand, with each hand, and ripped them to the ground with a judo ryu throw, smashed them to the sand, jumped up, was just about to kick them both in the head, and then the third one jumped me and tried to wrestle me, but I was too strong for him. I wrestled him to the ground, and I was getting a bit anxious because I thought 3 of them was a bit too much for me to take, so I've got to sort of escape this. But then just as I wrestled the third one to the ground, the fourth one smoked me with a punch to the head, and they all 4 of them got up and restrained me to the ground. They pinned my legs and arms, and one of them said to me, don't move, or he pinned my arm, he said, don't move or I'll break your wrist. And I thought they were going to bash me, and I was just lying there waiting to get smashed. And then the police came back. Timely that the police came back, because they told the students to fuck off, to leave. And the police took me got my lightsaber back, and took me into the police car and the squad car, and took me back to the station, the Hastings police station. And then they told me, look, seriously, you didn't hurt anyone, you didn't break anyone's nose, you didn't make anyone bleed. We're not going to charge you with assault. Otherwise we would charge you with assault. All we can charge you with is trespassing, but we're not going to charge you with trespassing. We'll let you go this time, but don't start in trouble like this again, alright? all you really did wrong was trespass and cause a bit of havoc. You didn't commit any real crimes. So we're going to let you go this time, but don't hassle us again, right? And so I got away with that one as well. Now, on to the next one, security guard fight. Now, I had just become famous in Mornington in 2009, and this was around May 2009. Just after I got famous, just after I became famous, just before I paid for my lease for my brand new party beach house, expensive party beach house, and I was going to Mornington Centro Shopping Centre, which is a mini mall. It's the biggest shopping centre in Mornington besides the Main Street Shopping Centre, it's at the back of the Main Street. It lies directly behind it, one street back from it, and it has supermarkets and it has department stores and it has there used to be the Trigger Brothers, my sponsor, surf skate and snow store there, but that's since moved to Mornington since then. It was back in 2009, and I was a bit flamboyant at the time because I'd just become famous, so I was known to ride my skateboard in the middle of the mini mall and then the shopping centre with my lightsaber turned on and caused a bit of havoc. And so a few of the security guards started not taking a dislike to me. One in particular, and he was hassling me all the time and threatening to have me banned from the shopping centre. So I stopped skateboarding in the shopping centre, but he kept hassling me still. And one day I was just at one of the sushi bars making an order, and I heard him yell at me from behind. I turned around and I thought, right, I'm not going to take your shit no more. So I walked up to him, grabbed them both by the shoulders, and he grabbed me by the shoulders, and then I kicked out with my foot real quick and tripped him, and at the same time did the Jedi, like the judo ryu throw, and reefed him to the ground, jumped on his back, pinned him on the ground, grabbed his head, smacked it down to the ground, a few times, and grabbed his glasses and snapped them. And then I was about to grab his head and smack it on the ground one more time, but then I was grabbed. Like about 4 guys, innocent bystanders, just grabbed me and pinned me to the ground. And they waited till the cops were called, and the cops came. And the cops once again said to me, he's only got a little bruise on his face. He hasn't made his face bleed or anything. And what I think it was a good thing, because if they hadn't restrained me, I would have hurt him more, and I would have broke his nose or something, or split his eye or something, and he would have been bleeding, and I would have been charged with assault. But then once again, the police said, just get out of here, Jedi. Stop causing trouble. Get out of here. And that's when I started to get a fair bit of reputation with the police in Mornington after that time. Now, the next one is police fight Mornington. Yeah, okay. This is not a big idea. This is not a big deal. I just leased my house in Mornington, an expensive party beach house, and it was in June or July 2009. It's just down the road from Mornington Main Street, my party house, just down the road from it. The street that I'm on, I'm on the corner, one street goes straight to the beach, one street goes straight to Mornington Main Street, to the clock tower. The clock tower roundabout, it's in the middle of the Mornington Main Street, with the Grand Hotel on the corner, and then the tower of the Grand Hotel with the flagpole and stuff. And I was just walking up there to go to the shops in the morning after I just leased my house one morning, and the police pulled up, jumped out, a detective and a normal police officer. The detective came straight up to me and grabbed me and said, "You're coming with us, Nick." And I said, "No, I'm not. Get your hands off me." And so the police officer came and restrained me as well, and they tripped me over and pinned me on the ground and chucked me in the back of the car. And I said to him, "What's this about?" And he said, "Oh, you've stolen $20 worth of food and kitchen supplies from Mount Eliza Business College." And I said, "This is rubbish, man. You can't rough someone up over stealing $20 worth of food and kitchen supplies." And I said, "I did it. I admit to it." And he says, "Yeah, I know." And he said, "Yeah, I know," and he just laughed. And he said, "Yeah, I know, we're being a bit harsh." And anyway, that's a small story. And they let me go anyway. They charged me with $20 worth of food, and nothing even happened. Court didn't even care. They just gave me a $100 fine or something and let me go. Now the next one is, here we go. This one's interesting. The broken party window incident. Now, this is in August. I had my first party in July and my second party in July. The first one was just decent size. The second one was a bit bigger, but the third one was big, and the fourth one was massive. The third one was just starting to wind down at about 11:30, 12 o'clock, and it was all going cool. I had my helmet on. I was in full kit. I had my helmet on, I had my lightsaber, I had my skateboard, cruising around the party, having fun. And then one of my friends, a 16-year-old young guy, told me that there were some guys just outside my fence that were about to come in that wanted to stab me. They were talking about stabbing me with a knife. And so I thought, right, and after 10 minutes, I decided to close the party down just before 12 o'clock. Everyone left except for these 4 guys. And they were a bit older. They were about in their early 20s. Most people at the party were teenagers, maybe a few people in their early 20s, but these guys were a bit older, early 20s. And I realised they were going to try either had a knife or they were going to get a knife from my my kitchen and stab me. And everyone left, and the front door had no key. When I purchased the lease, I was given a key to the back doors, but not the front door. And they were covering the main back door, so I couldn't get out through that. There was 4 of them. One of them probably had the knife. The other 2 were covering the back door, and the other one was trying to what's the word for it? He was trying to distract me and hold me up while the other one was going to stab me. And so what I did was I was cornered and in the front of the house in the lounge room. And so what I did was I realised I had my lightsaber in my hand. I thought helmet on, my skateboard in my other hand. I was sort of holding him off. And I thought, what's the point of holding my lightsaber? It's not going to help. So I put my lightsaber down, grabbed the skateboard in both hands, and then I pushed it towards him, and then he sort of backed off a bit because he thought, okay, his lightsaber's not in his hand anymore. He's got his skateboard now. He's a bit more serious. And I thought, hang on, okay. And him backing off for a second gave me a few moments to think. And I thought, right, I'm getting cornered. I've got no way out, but there is a way out. This window right here next to me. It's not a big bay window. It's just a normal size window. Smash it, and that's your escape route. Plus, it might also scare him off. And so immediately I just grabbed the skateboard and smashed the window. And I didn't smash it once. I kept smashing it so that all the glass was totally out of the window. There was no glass left in the window, so I could easily get out through the window. And I think that's one of the reasons why they backed off, because then they left. After a few moments, they left and got out of the house and went out through the back door and left. Because there was still about 50 party guests out in the garden and stuff waiting to see what happened. They didn't know what was happening. I was trapped inside, yelling at them to get out of my house. I was yelling at them to get out of my house, but then I smashed the window, and there were a few people out there yelled out, call the cops. A few of the party guys out, called the cops. Not just that, the neighbours would have called the cops too, and so I think they thought the cops were coming, and they also thought, right, he's got an escape route now. And plus, this guy's a bit of a psycho. He's smashing windows in his own house. Maybe we shouldn't fuck with him. But that's not the main one. The main one was that I could escape through that window and they couldn't trap me. I wasn't trapped anymore. I could get out through that window. And the 4 of them were inside the house. There was no one. They had no one to cover that window outside the house. I could have got out just whenever I wanted. They're not going to cover that window because then I can get out through the door. So they backed off and left. I had the window replaced, and that was the end of that story. And I had my massive party about a month later. That was the 3rd party. I had my 4th massive party about a month and a half later. So it didn't stop me from having parties, that incident. Okay, now the next one. The next one's the murder escape, which you already know about. That happened in 2011, May, so I'm not going to discuss that. The murder attempt escape in Mornington. As I said, I got away with that one from luck, a combination of luck and magic powers, or if you want to call it the Force. Now the next one is in 2011, late 2011, the Rosebud Police Station foyer fight. Now, I was at Rosebud Hospital, and I was at emergency, and I was trying to get some help there, and they weren't being too cooperative, so I started getting abusive, and they called the cops, and the cops grabbed me and took me back to the police station to calm me down a bit. And now, the Mornington Police know me quite well, and the Hastings Police, which is the main area for my mother's seat of Parliament, which is the seat of Hastings, they know me quite well as well. But the Rosebud Police don't really know me that well, because I was famous on the whole Mornington Peninsula except for Rosebud, Rye, Sorrento and Portsea, which is further down the coast. However, in the Rosebud Police Station in the interview room, I was telling them, I was explaining to the Rosebud Police who didn't know me, I said to them, look, I'm the most famous person in Mornington, Mount Eliza, Mount Martha. I'm the best skater in Mornington, Mount Eliza, Mount Martha. I'm probably the most famous person in the Mornington Peninsula except for Rye, Rosebud and Sorrento and Portsea. I'm sponsored by Trigger Brothers. You know Trigger Brothers, of course. They're a famous brand on the Mornington Peninsula. Also, my mother's a former politician for the seat of Hastings, which incorporates Somerville, Hastings, Balnarring, Somers, Merricks, all those areas. All those areas. And I think I was overheard by, in the next interview room, there was a criminal guy that was getting charged, and he was about to get locked up. He was about to get taken to the actual cells, and they were about to transport him to the cells. He'd been caught of criminal activity, and he overheard me through the open doors, and he thought, right, that's a celebrity in the next door. I'm going to have a go at him. This guy, I'm about to go to jail. I'm going to have a go at this celebrity guy. And he heard that I called myself a Jedi skateboarder, and he thought, right, a Jedi, a famous celebrity called Jedi, I'm going to have a go at him. And so when I was out in the Rosebud police station foyer, they took me. The Rosebud police were about to let me go. They said don't go back to the hospital though, and they were about to let me go. But then this guy, he's not a big guy. He was just with tattoos all over him and anything. He was just a normal sized guy, sort of around the same size as me. He was getting escorted out by 4 police officers, and just as he was about to get through the door, he turned to me and started charging at me. And I thought, well, fuck you, cunt, fucking smart ass. I'll fucking take you first. And so I reached out to him again, grabbed him. Oh no, actually I didn't first. I smacked him first, once, and then reached out and grabbed him, and tore him to the ground with a Ryu throw. Judo Ryu throw. Put him on the ground, and I was about to elbow him, or smack him again, when the police officer grabbed me off his back, grabbed me by my back, and just reached me off him. And then they took him away and took him into the cop car and got it. And they were yelling at him. They were saying, what are you doing? You're about to go to jail. Don't start more shit. And they took him away to the cop car. And then while I was calming down, a very attractive young blonde police officer at the station told me, when he told me you're a Jedi skateboarder, I thought, you might be a pro skateboarder, but I don't think you're a Jedi. And then she said to me, but you got him pretty quick. You got him good. You were good. You got him quick. I believe you're a Jedi. And I was like, just because I'm a decent fighter doesn't mean it's all about Jedi. Huh? Jedi skateboarder. He said, yeah, it doesn't matter. He was still good. You got him fast, yep. So that's that story, huh? Anyway, the next one is Mount Eliza escape. Now skip forward a bit to Mount Eliza in 2012 around May. The Mount Eliza skate park had just been opened, and it was dangerous for me to go to Mount Eliza, Mornington or Mount Martha, but I still went. I caught the bus from Frankston. It was just about to open on the opening day, on a Sunday. Mount Eliza is probably the equal richest area in the Mornington Peninsula. Mount Eliza, Portsea and Sorrento. Sorrento and Portsea are the 3 richest areas in Mornington Peninsula, and those 3 areas are probably some of the richest areas in the whole of the state and the whole of the country, and the whole of Australia. Anyway, I went to Mount Eliza Village. I caught the bus from Frankston to Mount Eliza, and I called a taxi, waiting to get a taxi from Mount Eliza Village Shopping Centre to the Mount Eliza skate park, which is up the back of Mount Eliza, and you can't access it by skateboarding or by walking. And just as I was waiting there, I saw a few people take notice of me, but it was only mainly families and mums and dads and kids and stuff. But then a car pulled up right near me, and it was a station wagon, a newish sort of station wagon. Pardon me. And the station wagon pulled up, and 5 young guys in their early 20s got out, and they walked into the bottle shop. There was just a few shops down, and then when they came back, they were walking towards me, and they were laughing and joking, and I knew straight away those 5 guys were zeroing in on me. They were targeting me, and they were going to attack me. They were about to attack me. Now, I was waiting for them to attack me, and I was just about to run into the flight centre. There was a tourist travel guide flight centre shop right next to me, and I was about to run into that door and tell them to call the cops because they're about to come in and attack me. But the taxi rocked up just in time. The taxi turned up, sailed in. I looked at it and went, yeah, fuck yeah. Jumped straight into that taxi. And as soon as I jumped in the taxi, their laughter and their jokes started up straight away. They shut up straight away. All their jokes and laughter and shit shut up straight away. I jumped in and I thought, fuck this, I'm out of here. And I still went to Mount Eliza's skate park. They didn't tell me I went to Mount Eliza's skate park. They were gonna smash me and beat the fuck out of me. They were gonna smash my head in. They were gonna fuck me up big time. All 5 of them. Anyway, went to Mount Eliza skate park, but it had been cancelled. The opening day had been cancelled because of wet weather or whatever. So I went back to the bus stop near the service station. I was well away from the village. and I caught the bus down to my friend's house, down towards Ryde and Sorrento, and I stayed there the night and came back the next day to my mother's house in the city. And there's a man Lazarus came, but they would have smacked the fuck out of me. All 5 of them would have stomped my head in, easy. No, not easy, but they would have got me. They would have got me. I would have claimed a couple of them with my skateboard, but they would have got me. Right, next one is Queenscliff incident. Now, Queenscliff is right across the heads from Sorrento. It's just down the coast from Torquay Bells Beach, and it's on the Victorian famous surf coast, near the Great Ocean Road, near Torquay Bells Beach, near Barwon Heads and Ocean Groves. They're all surf coast towns on the surf coast. Now, in Queenscliff, I've been going there for a while. I've been going there from 2011 until late 2012, and now around 2012 October, I was there and skating around at night, and obviously the locals got sick of me. They didn't like me skating around there with the lightsaber anymore at night, but during the day. I didn't do anything trouble. I didn't cause any trouble there. I just stayed at hotels and like you know caravan parks and stuff, and well, they got sick of me there after about a year of going there infrequently, just every now and then going there, and they didn't like me there anymore, so they set a bit of a trap for me. I was skating one night in October at the local primary school at night, and then all of a sudden I was having a cigarette, stopped to have a cigarette, and then the lights cut out. The lights cut out. And someone cut the lights out at the primary school, and then the lights come back on straight away. I thought something was going on dodgy, and then all of a sudden an alarm went off at a nearby beach house, a big beach house. An alarm went off, and I thought, right, fucking get out of here quick. So I didn't run off, I walked off and called a taxi. I walked off down the road a fair bit, went to the nearest caravan park and just stood at the front and called a taxi with my mobile phone. And well, the taxi came and I went to Barwon Heads Caravan Park, stayed there the night, and I've only been there back, and I got out of there fucking in the morning and went straight back to my mother's house in the city, and then I've been back to Queenscliff once in the last year and a half, a year and a bit since then, but it was during the day. I'll never go back there during the night again. I'll only probably go there once every 6 months or something, if that, and that's only during the day. Now the next one, and this is about 2 weeks after that. 2 weeks after that happened in Queenscliff, I went to my grandmother's house, which is on the southeastern suburbs, the fringe suburbs of borderline city fringe, borderline country town suburbs. On the southeastern side of the city, southeastern fringe of the city. It's still country. It's a city, but it's country as well. And I stayed at my grandmother's house for about a week, and then one night, just as it got dark, she went out for a few hours to go see her friends. And just as it got dark, I just smoked a joint, and I just sitting down watching television, and then I heard 7 or 8 handgun shots go off directly at the front of my grandmother's house. And I also heard a few gunshots go off at the bottom of the hill as well, but the ones that were directly out front of my grandmother's house. Now I realised they might be trying to get me, or they might just be trying to warn me off. Because I thought that, then I thought, call a taxi once again and get the fuck out of there with a taxi. So I got my phone out, called the taxi, and as I was waiting to get the taxi, I realised they're reloading that handgun right away, now straight away as I speak. So I waited for the taxi, and I sort of thought, it could be a prank that is scaring me off, or it could be they're really mean it scared me off, otherwise they're going to shoot you. Because there's a lot of farms and stuff around there. It's still quite developed. There's new estates, there's modern facilities and modern shopping centres in this suburb, but it's all country area as well. So there's a lot of people out there in farms with rifles and shotguns and handguns, and there's probably a few people in the town area as well that's got handguns and things and other firearms. And there's people there with firearms, and out in the country areas with firearms anyway. So there's people with guns. And so what I thought was, go to the taxi. And when I got out in the taxi came. I jumped into it, and I got the fuck out of there quick. And that's when I realised, if it wasn't a prank, then that's what they were doing. They were just scaring me off. But if I didn't leave straight away in the taxi, they could have just come in through the house and shot me, because there was no one home. It's hard to run away when there's 2 of them or 3 of them with handguns. Anyway, on to the next one. Newport skate park incident. Oh no, yeah, Newport skate park incident. Okay, this is about a month after the gunshots one. What I did was, I went to Newport skate park. And usually there's a good crowd at Newport skate park on any given day, 20, 30, 40 people, if not more. This day there was about 3 of us. Me, one guy I knew, and another Asian guy that I didn't know. And we were just skating around, having fun. I did a few of my lip slides. Did 2 of my lip slides. I did one of my lip slides and landed it. A wicked sick one. And then I was just sitting there having a cigarette with this guy that I knew, and I looked down the hill a bit, and I saw 2 people hiding behind the tree. And I didn't know who they were. I'd never seen them there before, and I thought, why would they be hiding behind the tree? And then I realised, well, I've been famous in Newport. I'm famous in Newport now. Now, not the most famous person in Newport, like down in Mornington Peninsula, or in Torquay Beach, the most famous person. But to a reasonable degree, I'm still famous now in Newport. And this is back in 2012, around November and stuff. I realised these people are casing me. So I thought, fuck this, I better get out of here. So I told my friend, I said to him, I'm going to walk off, man. I'm going to walk off and go skate down to Williamstown from Newport Skate Park. If they follow me, yell out, man. So I did this to him, put my fist out and did that to him. And I said, just keep an eye out, man. And then they didn't run after me or chase me, man. But I sort of realised then that they either wanted to bash me or maybe stab me with a knife or something. And that's when I ran off. Oh no, not ran off, sorry. Getting a bit distracted. That's when I walked off and they didn't run after me, should I say. That's more correct. I walked off and they didn't run after me. And I realised then that if I'd have stuck around, if I'd have stayed there, then they would have probably attacked me or even stabbed me with a knife. So I was lucky that I left when I did. Oh, that's the Newport one. The next one is Mornington, Torquay. Stalked in Torquay. Alright. In 2013, a few months after I was on television, I went to Torquay, and there was a bit of an argument between me and a couple of people from Torquay on skateboard.com.au just previously in the previous few weeks on the forums, on the website. And when I went there, I went to a bar and talked to a girl that I know there. And she's a bartender, and I was just telling her, I think she knew me because she knew that I was on YouTube, and she knew that I was famous in Torquay. But I showed her, she didn't know I was on TV, so I showed her my phone and I showed her the YouTube of me being on TV, and she watched it and she was impressed. And then to back this up, she came across. She was out there, picking up the drinks and stuff, the empty glasses. It was pretty empty that night, and a surf media photographer rocked up in his 4-wheel drive and started taking pictures of me with a big camera, with me sitting there with my lightsabers having a drink out the front of the bar. And then I said to him, look, there's a surf media photographer, and she was quite impressed because she said, yeah, it's paparazzi, and this backed up my me when I showed her me on TV. And now, after the photographer left, I said to her, I'm out here, see you later. And as I was walking off, I looked across into the foreshore, across the road, because this bar's on the Esplanade, right on the beach. I looked across, and there was a dark shape. There was a man casing me. Another one stalking me. I was like, what the fuck? And I stopped, looked over at him and said, what the fuck's going on? And then he got a bit sort of preoccupied, or he got a bit not just preoccupied. He got a bit threatened, I think, and even though he was the one doing the stalking, and he sort of walked off real quick. Didn't run off, but walked off real quick. So I knew it was a big skate. It was not a big skate, but it was a fair skate. Not a fair skate, but it was a skate, like a skate. I don't know. It was a few minute skate, like a 5-minute skate back to my beach house near the skate park. So I went back to the bar. And when I went to the bar, I told the girl, before she shut up, I said to this girl that I was just talking to, the bartender girl, I said to her, I think someone was just trying to stalk me then, so if something happens to me tonight, can you please tell the police that I told you I saw someone trying to stalk me out the front of your bar? And she said, yeah, well, and then she was really impressed with that TV on my phone, TV YouTube on my phone that I showed her, and the paparazzi rocking up right on time to prove that type of shit. Take pictures of me, but then she got scared. See, she went from impressed to impressed, half scared, half frightened, which is unfortunate because I think she likes me. But anyway, okay, What's the next one? The last one. Mornington, the last Mornington stalked one. Alright, now, once or twice every 6 months I've been going to Mornington just on night missions, but I've stopped doing that now around, I don't know, around halfway through last year. And when I went there, I went to the cliff in Mornington at night, caught a taxi there from not the city, but from somewhere towards the Mornington Peninsula end of the city. And I went and sat at the cliffs. The view from Mornington Cliffs over the Port Phillip Bay towards the city lights and the city skyscrapers over in the distance is awesome. It's dynamic. It's fantastic, and I love looking at it. It's one of my favourite things about Mornington is the view over the whole city and the entire bay, all the city lights and the coastal lights all the way. It stretches on forever. Forever. And I know that forever because I've skated it before. I've ridden all the way from Mornington all the way to those city skyscrapers off in the distance forever. It's like skating forever. But anyway, getting carried away. Cause it's 70 kilometres or 65 kilometres of the city from Mornington. Anyway, I sat there at the cliff, just having cigarettes and watching the view, and then all of a sudden, a car pulls up. I don't have my lightsaber, of course, because I don't have my lightsaber on night missions. It's like to talk out to Mornington. A car pulls up, starts slowing down, and it keeps going. I knew I'd been marked, I knew I'd been made, so I headed back to my house, but they anticipated that, and they were there waiting at my house. And so I was ready to get jumped. There was only 2 of them in the car. There wasn't more than 2, there was only 2 of them in the car. But they would have been calling on their phones, telling the people to come and get Jedi, come and smash the cunt, come and fuck him up. And I wait, and this time, usually I get away with luck or a taxi or maybe even using magic powers like I did with the murder attempt escape. And what happened was, this time, fluke as well, was that a bus rocked up just on time because there's a bus stop right at the front of my house, my old party house. And it rocked up just in time as they were about to jump out of the car. As they jumped out of the car and they're about to get me, bus rocked up just in time. I jumped in the bus, and they didn't follow the bus because I knew they didn't follow the bus. Otherwise, they would jump me when I got off. I got off near the bus stop, further away somewhere else in Mornington. I got off on the bus and caught the bus from Mornington down to Rye and Sorrento. Stayed at my friend's house again and went back the next morning when there was no hassle. They would have smashed me again that night, I reckon. Would have had no chance. Once again, fluke got away. Fluke and luck. Quick thinking too as well. Right, that's the end of the interview. Concluded.